Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look once again in the files for some new decals and also some new camos for the next major update. There's a bunch of superiority decals and also the Tusk Force decal and many other camos for the new vehicles. We'll be having a look at those today in the video, and then also at the same time there is a special going on. An anniversary of the first flight of the Yak 38. Basically, you can pick it up for a 30% discount from the 22nd of September until the 25th of September. So we're going to have a look at that too. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe and also like the video. Let's get started. So the Yak 38 is on sale once again, and it's kind of a weird and wonky aircraft. It's not one that is fantastic in the game right now, and it basically relies on a very specific set of circumstances to work. The first thing that I want to note is the difference between the premium version and the tech tree version. You have the Yak 38M, which is here, and then you have the standard Yak 38. The difference is basically the engines. So the premium one uses the RD3635 FVs for its VTOL engines, and then it has the Tamansky R27V300 for its main engine. For the 38M, you have the RD38s, and then also you have the Tamansky R28V300. So basically, the Yak 38M has a bit more power compared to the Yak 38. So even though they're the same BR, the M is slightly better, but in a very, very minor way. The Yak 38, as I said, it's a weird one. It's a big sausage. It doesn't fly very well. It does have very good low-end acceleration, like all of the VTOL aircraft, but it can't turn, it bleeds speed like crazy, and then also, at the same time, it overheats like a nutcase. So your flight characteristics in general are not good in this machine. What it does have, though, is a pretty insane weaponry on it. So, first of all, in air, which is probably where you're going to use this thing the most, it has access to 4 R60s. This is something at 9.3, which is just unheard of. The R60 is a very powerful missile at 9.3. It is a rear aspect one, but it has a really good overload, and if you get close enough to the target, you basically just won't miss. There are a lot of vehicles with countermeasures around these BRs, such as the Harriers, for example, but generally you will face a lot of vehicles with no countermeasures. A lot of people playing the F-106 right now, for example, which will just get annihilated by this thing. So basically, you trade flight performance for superior weaponry. And for me, I'm not good with those types of vehicles. I prefer a better vehicle with flight performance with worse weaponry, because it means that it puts me in a position where I can always get onto the enemy, and it's up to me to finish them off. But with something like the Yak 38, I feel like you have to play very, very, very gingerly with the vehicle to be able to move around with it and hopefully hit the target and take stuff out. And that, to me, is a problem with the Yak 38 because you can't actually one-on-one fight stuff. Now, one of the interesting things this vehicle does have is it does have a CCIP for its rockets, so you can actually bring some secondary armaments. You do have the KH-23M missiles, but you also have the S-24B rockets, which are these massive ones with 25 kilos explosive mass in them. And you can actually use these in ground battles to be able to actually just donk people in their spawns with the CCIP, or you can use, the S5KPs or the KH-23Ms, which are there too. So generally, that's something which is there as well. You do have the 23mm, which is put in a weird position on the vehicle. You can see it's like really near the back, so aiming with it can be a problem. But it does have a good fire rate and also a good muzzle velocity, so it's not too much of an issue. It's just, as you can see, slightly angled down compared to the vehicle, so it can be a bit of a problem getting the guns on targets. Sometimes you over or undershoot quite easily with the vehicle. And also the other thing is, this vehicle is at rank 6, right? So it can fully research rank 7 and downwards in a pretty good way. The other vehicles you have at this BR to use, you have the Su-7 BMK, which is basically just a base bomber. That's literally it. It can't do anything else. You have the Su-25, which is a spawn of Satan, which is fantastically good, especially used properly in pretty much any game mode. And then you have the MiG-21S R13300, which gets a lot of use because of its R3Rs and people not expecting them, but also is limited in terms of its armament. So basically, you either pick the Ak-38, which has a really good armament, but really poor flight performance, or you pick the MiG-21S, which has really good flight performance and really poor armament. Both sides only have access to, they don't, have access to any countermeasures, so basically being on the offense is much more important than being on the defense, and therefore it can be quite hard to play the Ak-38, especially in this current meta. So the first port of call is the decals for the next major update. First of all, we have the Tusk Force one. This is the one that they usually put in the gambling box for the camos for the updates. And generally, it's nice to collect these because what ends up happening is they actually create collections around them per year. So if you have all of the decals from one of the years, you actually get a special decal. So for example, the 2023 to 2024 game updates, you actually have the Dance of Dragons decal, which you can get if you got all of the other ones. Normally, they're also pretty cheap, so it's just a way of being able to complete a collections without really having to worry too much, and I think that's generally kind of cool. Then you have the new Air Superiority Tournament decals. There is a gold, silver, bronze, and then a standard one, which is coming in as well. I actually think the standard one looks better than the rest of them, which is kind of funny. But basically, these are probably for the winners and also for the people who maybe take part. They could also be for the Twitch drops. Remember that when it comes to these tournaments, what they do is the first open qualifiers, they do like the little Twitch drops, so you can get a day of premium, boosters, and all of that. That happened the last 2 weekends, and then the next 2 weekends are usually camos and stuff like that, which people are a bit more interested in. So we're probably going to see those coming in pretty soon. And don't worry, I'll let you know about them when it happens. The fact that we've seen the Tusk Force decal, by the way, the trophy decal, usually that comes after the update comes out. But it looks like the last few updates, what they've done is they've kind of released the box at the same time as the update. So maybe that's how they're actually doing stuff nowadays, which kind of is a bit weird because it means that they need all of the camos for the box before the update comes out. So I'm guessing all of the skinners are just making camos based on the stuff from the dev server. So if you're a new person and you want to get into it, well, that's going to be pretty much impossible. So the other part of it, we have a bunch more camos, which are coming in basically for the Hornets and also for the Su-30SM again. So these guys already got a bunch of camos, but there are 4 more coming in for the Australian Hornet, the HUG 2.4 specifically. You have the 77th Squadron, you have the 100th anniversary camouflage, you have the Magpies camouflage, and also the Warimi Hornet, which is kind of cool. So 4 more camos that you'll be able to grind out. As I said, when it comes to like these camos, it's obvious they're trying to make these Hornets different in a way, and one of the ways is customization. Usually in games where you have like a decent amount of copy-paste stuff, that's basically what you got to do, right? Like you've got to try and find any way possible to try and make it actually, interesting. And the way you can do it is make it at least look different, even if it's the same. That's kind of the whole point of, having the whole common, uncommon, rare, stuff like that in games in general. So nice to see it kind of transfer to War Thunder. Also, you have CF-188 camos. You have the 425th Squadron Anniversary camo, the Centennial of Flight camo, Century of Canadian Flight, and also the 20 years of the CF Hornet. So more anniversary camos, which isn't a surprise because the anniversary camos are usually the ones that look the nicest. And then also for the good old Su-30SM. This one already had 2 new camos when it came to the game, and now it has access to another one, a digital camouflage known as Pixel. So they're really throwing a lot of new camos at the highest echelon of vehicles to either be able to ground out or GE, and a lot of them obviously for the new vehicles, but not all of them, which is interesting. Now, a lot of people have been asking me, when is the update going to come out? I was amazed it didn't come out last week. I'm guessing they had either some bugs that they had to fix, or they were focusing on other stuff, maybe the active matter early access. That just happened. Who knows what's happening over on the Gaijin team, but it really felt like it was designed to come out in the last week. And also, there isn't any like new mechanics in this update, and the bug reporting in general, I know that obviously there's always, some bugs that have to be fixed, but it definitely was nowhere near as heavy as previous updates. Maybe they're just trying to make sure everything works before it comes out, but it's just very surprising that it hasn't come out yet. If it doesn't come out this week, it will be very, very surprising because of the simple fact that it would be unprecedented, that we would be going into October and not having the update come out. This is always known as the September update. We're already a little bit late on when it generally is. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean too much. Ranges change, and also the weekends and how they're planned out makes a big difference. But generally, we would have usually seen this update by now or around now. So let's see it this week. It should be pretty fun. A lot of new vehicles to grind out. Not just a lot of top tier stuff this time, but a lot of mid tier stuff, which should be fun, and also a lot of fillers, which will help nations get going. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Aussie Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.